Hello, Mary Marshall here with Mindset Overweight, dropping in here with, I think this will be my last promotional video for the Mindset Overweight program that launches this Thursday. Today's the 17th. We launch the next cohort on the 19th. That's Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern. And I had a connection call with somebody the other day who asked me, like, what does a session look like? And I thought, that's a really good question. Before someone decides to invest their time, their money, they might like the answer to that question. And sessions are around an hour. Sometimes we go a little bit over, never no, I don't even think we've gone an hour and a half, about an hour and 20 minutes. Um, so, usually closer to that hour mark, hour and 10. But, of course, we gather, we meet via Zoom. So, we gather in the Zoom room, say our hellos, and visit a little bit, and then I usually kick off each session with some self-regulation techniques, and you might wonder what that is, and that is. Usually they're little either meditative practices or breathing practices or simple little exercises, if you will. And this takes a short bit of time, about 5 minutes or so, maybe a couple more sometimes. But these are exercises that help you learn to regulate your nervous system. And why would we be doing that? Well, chances are, right, if you have been riding the weight loss roller coaster, you get some stress or anxiety around food or eating or your weight or your body, um, or your weight and your health. And whether you've never had a problem with weight, change is always a little bit stressful too. And in this program, we're looking at changing mindsets, challenging some long held, deeply ingrained mindsets in our culture, challenging them and starting to shift them. And that, change is a little stressful for us we humans. So having some techniques available to use when you feel that resistance is helpful. So we do that. I always kind of check in and see what people's need answered, what questions they have, what answers they're looking for, what challenges they've had the past week, and to make sure I cover that through the session. And there usually is some teaching, right? A little bit of teaching involved. And at the first half of the session, where it's a little heavier on the teaching. And then the second half of the 12-week session, we get heavier on the coaching, right? We have kind of like in-session coaching, sharing experiences, and what you can gain from them and how you can use them. To help build a more easy, comfortable relationship with food and eating. And the teaching part, there's a little bit of a new language that you learn around intuitive eating, around mindsets, and how you shift those mindsets. So, there's all of that. And then we kind of share the how-to, right? The practice of practicing more attuned eating, and actually more attuned living sometimes. And then we share, each week there is some type of, you could call it homework, but usually I would like to call it your exploration, your investigation, right? You're kind of being sent out to kind of self-monitor. You're going to pay attention to some things, be mindful about some things like your body signals or your hunger or, what satisfies you, what you would like to eat. So those are some of the types of homework assignments you might have. And of course, we debrief on how that went each week from the previous week. And that drives a lot of our coaching in session. So that's what a session looks like. And that's sort of the progression through the course, or not a course. It's a session, a group coaching program. So that's the progression through the program. We start Thursday, March 19th, and I still am offering the 50% discount. And yeah. So if you have any questions, please book a connection call. Feel free to do that. And but you don't have much time, and because we start Thursday, all right? And if you miss it, and you kind of realize late in the game, just shoot me an email. So a week or two after, I can get you on board. Okay. All right. Happy spring.